So how about we start from hearing your thoughts and input on overall how to prepare IELTS exam and what are the four papers and how to get straight 8.0.
When you want to start, IELTS is just like any exams, any other exams that you might set for in your life as you are, whether professional exams or when you were in school, is one, review your reasons. Ask yourself, what is the purpose that I'm sitting this IELTS exam? Why is that? I mean, it seems like it is a no-brainer. Oh, I need to migrate, so I need to do. But I think if you put pen to paper and you actually write down your purpose builds clarity in you. Once we build that clarity in our mind, we also build motivation, right? I mean, learning anything is a journey and it can get sometimes you have ups and downs, and sometimes there'll be days you feel lazy and you don't want to do your task. And you think, oh no, I really don't want to do. And it's very easy because that one day can roll into the second day, the third day. And before you know it, you could spend 2 months not even reviewing any of your work, right? So I really believe that know your purpose, make it explicit. Don't say it in your head because we all sound perfect and wonderful in our heads, Write it down, make it real, stick it somewhere on your notice board or on the fridge so that when you walk by, you see it. So that's the first step. I really think that is the first step to meeting all goals in our lives, right? And then when you think, all right, now I'm clear, I want to move. My target is I'm going to apply for migration in a certain date, a certain time. That's the big picture. So your IELTS journey are the many little steps you're taking towards that big picture. Then think about making a plan. Make your IELTS plan. You know that your exam maybe you plan to do the exam in October and it's now January. Looking ahead, you think, whoa, it's so many months, right? But time really just goes by like that, especially when you're working and you have a family and you want to rest at the weekend as well. So time really flies. So make a plan. Have a game plan. That's what I like to say. Another very important thing when you're plotting a game plan is be realistic. So think, I have this number of weeks, I can dedicate this number of weekend or this number of hours to my studying. And then ask yourself, all right, what will I do? Because there are 4 components in which you would have to prepare for, right? But if you are at the stage where you've already tried your IELTS and you are kind of a person who always gets 7, you got a 7.5, but you're aiming for that 8. Then that perhaps you will know your weaknesses, your strengths and weaknesses. So look at what your I don't want to use the word failings. Look at the area in which you want to improve in. Perhaps that's the area to spend a little bit more time when you plot out your plan. Now, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, no man is an island. A bit of sexist now, really, but no person is an island, all right? What does this mean? It just means get a study buddy. Because when you're studying by yourself, I mean, that level of motivation can never constantly be high. But if you've got somebody, like say, maybe you're going and you're emigrating with your spouse, so both of you have to do the IELTS, then both of you can dedicate time to study because then you both know that you have to do this. It's a family thing. You're motivated that you really want to take that next step. Or a study buddy could be anybody. Maybe you've joined a class and you find that somebody you connect with and you can study well together. Why not? Why is that so vital? Why is that so important? Why is that my suggestion? Because I feel that when you have somebody with you, you stay accountable. Right? It's like, when you're exercising, if you're by yourself, you can say, today I don't want to go. I'm too tired. But if you have a study buddy and you thought, you know what? We've already said we'll meet at 2:00 on Saturday and we're going to spend 2 hours. You made that appointment. You don't really want to let the other person down because they too are trying to achieve a goal, an objective. So that's number 3. So you know your purpose, you make a plan, you find someone to study with. All right, so you get this pal to study with, right? What's the next thing you have to do? I think what's really important is, yes, you may have tried the IELTS 2-3 times, but I think it's always good to go review what are the expectations for each skill.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know what memory is like. Memory fades. And we also manipulate memory and we think, oh, I think it was that way. But it may not have been, it's your perception. So go online, go to IDP, go to the britishcouncil.org,
Yeah.
look up all these and read up about the 4 different skills and their expectations. Now, again, you doing the IELTS, you have different reasons to do the IELTS. You got the IELTS for work, you got the IELTS for schools, you got the IELTS, general IELTS, or the academic IELTS. So you've got to be familiar with all this, right? I mean, from my experience, I have had candidates come into an exam having no idea what the structure of the exam is. And I'm thinking, wow, I wouldn't want to step into an exam not knowing what to expect, what to say, what to do. Because what you're doing, 1, you're wasting your money. 2, you're going in and, if you don't do well, you might demotivate yourself at that moment because you were not expecting all the things. So understand the 4 components.
Yeah.
What is expected of you, the exam format, the duration of time. Once you know what to expect, it will then be, how to plan your strategy to attacking each paper, right? So that brings me to point number 5, is that you need to do actual exam papers. Stop working on grammar, we call that discrete grammar, just answering grammar questions. Whoa, that should be out by now. If you are looking for an 8 and you've achieved a 7 before, throw those books away. Yes, I'm actually saying throw them away, because it means that you already understand your grammatical concepts. What you need is to do the actual exam papers, understand what they're asking you for the written component, understand what they're asking you for the reading component. You need practice. Okay, and all these things can be gotten over the internet. Really, there are loads and loads of free PDFs out there to build your reading and writing. Doing the exam papers. Now, what is the benefit of doing the exam papers? I said, 1, you're doing it under that sort of looking at the questions, understanding what they're asking you, the type of questions that might come out, because for things like listening, there are so many types of questions that can come out, like multiple choice. They can ask you questions where you need to list for numbers or names. All right. Another thing that's good about exam papers is that you can actually get the answers online.
Yeah.
And along with the exam, the actual exam papers of past years, you can actually read examiners' responses, what the examiners said about the writing. And they give you samples. You can find samples like, this is what a 5 looks like, this is what a 6 looks like. You can get that online. My next point is, when you are actually doing actual exams, yes, you're planning, you're taking your time, you're learning about it. The next step in your big exam plan, which I said was number 2, make a plan, is to make sure that you put in time to do timed exams. So if the writing paper is an hour, you make sure that you dedicate that time to just writing within that time, an hour. Do not go over. So that could be later on in your plan. It's what we call practicing under exam conditions. Turn off that phone, put the exam paper in front of you.
Yeah.
Tell your family, I need this time to just do this practice, and just sit there. Maybe you're doing it with your buddy. You put a watch, a clock, and you time yourself, and you do that. Now, to be honest, the first few times you do timed practices, it's not going to be easy. If you're not tuned into doing exams, you'll find that you might struggle to complete the reading component, because the reading component, 40 questions is a lot. 30 questions can be a lot. Because, why is it a lot? Because you've got to do a lot of reading at the same time. Yes? So in the beginning, what you can do within that 60 minutes with 40 questions is you keep slowly getting better and better and timing yourself. That's why practice is vital. Don't just do one practice, do many practices, time practices, so you have a feel what 60 minutes feels like for 40 questions. All right. One of the things I've noticed about candidates when it comes to written exams, right, Tracy, is they just read the question. And why might they misinterpret the question is they forget to do one thing we teach all children to do in school: underline the keywords.
Yeah.
Circle, highlight, underline, make it stand out. So every time you're writing, you're going back to the question and reading it and saying, have I answered the question? Right? So please do remember, highlight your keywords or the ideas, and then make a quick plan. 60 minutes of writing, I would suggest you have 5 minutes to plan.
Yeah.
55 minutes of good writing is better than 60 minutes of haphazard, crazy, nervous writing. Okay, so taking time out to plan, even if you shoot over to 7 minutes, for example, it will be a plan worthwhile, because then your work is organized. Don't forget, in writing, it's not just the content, you're also marked on organization.
Yeah.
So the more ready you are, the better you're planning, you'll get there, right? Finally, we're talking to people here who want to get an 8. That's why I said to you earlier, throw out that grammar book, right? You know your grammar.
Yeah.
What is really important to that next step of 8 is to actually use and reuse language that you've learned and you know. You have to immerse yourself in a situation where you can actually use the English that you're practicing, and you need to practice. Because if you're migrating, what does the government want of you that you're going to Australia? What do they want of you? They want you to be able to integrate into society, be able to speak at the workplace, write, negotiate, conduct meetings, all at that workplace with confidence and accuracy, right? And at the same time, the more English you're able to speak confidently, the better you will socialize and not feel left out, ostracized or marginalized, right? So the 7th thing that I would say that's the most important is use and reuse your language.
What do you mean by use and reuse?
So when you learn something, you're using it, you're writing. Reuse is, you've got a good language, you think, oh, I love this phrase. This sounds like a really good phrase. Or this new word, try to use it, reuse it in the writing, reuse it when you're speaking to somebody, try to, especially with your study buddy, if you have a study buddy, pick a topic. You know those little exam cards that students have in school?
Yeah.
Yep. So maybe you can make 10 cards with a topic on it, and your buddy can make 10 cards, turn it upside down, mess it up, pull a card out and say, okay, now I have 3 minutes to think about it, and then I'll speak about it, go. So that gives you an opportunity to be more spontaneous in using language. Because let's admit it, let's admit this, when you actually migrate, you're not going to be carrying around your grammar book and your vocabulary book. You just have to speak off the cuff right there and then when somebody asks you a question, right? You can't say, oh, hold on, I'm going to turn to page 79 and look at this grammar that you just, this grammatical concept. So the more you can actually use the new words and then reuse it as much as you can, the more these words will become part and parcel of your own vocabulary bank, and you'll feel confident in using it.